You are now listening to the Who, What, How podcast, hosted by Jarad Wright. Let's go. Welcome to the Who, What, How podcast. Today I'm your host, Jarad Wright, and I got my man Pierce in the building, man. Pierce, how you doing, man?
What's up? I'm good, bro.
Hey, man, I'm super excited about this particular episode, man. Like, my brother, I met you when you was like,
Bro, probably like 13.
little youngin'.
Yeah.
Little youngin' coming into the game, like super hype, super like athletic. Envy you a little bit when it came to like acrobatics and stuff. Like,
Get outta
oh,
here,
man, like I can't do none of the stuff these young cats can do, man. And then you grew up, and then so how old are you now? How long have I known you?
22, bro.
So almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years.
Yep.
So you grew up, graduated from high school, and now you on this escapade of joining the military.
Air Force. Yes, sir.
We tried to talk you out of it. We were like, nah, you don't need to do that.
Yeah,
man.
everybody did. Everybody did.
You're like,
sure.
you don't need to do that. And then your stubbornness, you decided you still was gonna go.
Yep.
How do you feel about the decision today?
Well, the Air Force itself is a fantastic opportunity, but it's the job that I ended up with that, if regret is the wrong word, but if anything, that's the part that I would regret if I had regrets. The job is it's taxing. You know, it's just a lot, really. The Air Force is wonderful, though. I want to stay in the Air Force. I just don't want to stay in the current career field.
Got you. So 18, you leave. We were driving. I think we were doing like a photo shoot one day. We were working together doing a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we were talking about was like, is this going to be the right move for you? I was like, in a way, trying to talk you out of it. Or like just present other ideas, right? Like, hey, like you ain't gotta do this, man.
Right.
But at any rate, so you went ahead and you did it. So how was like basic?
Basic. Well, if I went through basic knowing what I know today, it would have been a very different experience. For some people, it was tough. For others, it was easy. Like, it just depends on what you're missing while you're in basic. You know, if you don't have problems following instructions and stuff like that, it's really it's the simplest part of your career. But at the time, you're looking at, you know, these people that are higher ranking, and they're so scary. You know, they're telling you what to do, yelling at you all the time, making you feel bad because you have such a high respect for them that when they're disappointed, it hurts. You know, but nowadays, if I went back to basic, it's just really like put your head down and just follow instructions. You know, don't stand out. Like, it's really not a difficult time. I think it was hard for me because I had a girlfriend back home at the time and stuff like that. But like, if I went single, I would have been fine.
You did have a girlfriend back home.
I
Yo,
did.
you always had a girlfriend or
For
something,
the longest,
bro.
bro. For the longest, I did.
You always kept a girl with you. I was like, yo, my man is gonna be in a relationship
His entire life,
all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So you went ahead, you did that. Basic was a thing. When you got through with basic, or how soon did you have to choose the job that you regret choosing?
So it wasn't necessarily a choice. It was a list. You know, like before I went to basic, they give you this option. You know, you have, I think it's 10 jobs, 10 career fields you can put on the list, and you rank them in order of which one you want the most. I remember vividly my number one choice was structural maintenance, which we call sheet metal. And it, to me, seems like an easy job. At the time, I didn't think that. I was like, oh, I want to be challenged and stuff like that. Now I look at sheet metal, I'm like, I got a lot of homies in sheet metal. I'm like, bro, y'all really don't be doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Compared to what I do.
Right.
So I don't know if I would have actually wanted that job looking back now that I know what they actually do. But it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a choice. It was just, you put these 10, because I signed an open mechanical contract, which means you could really get any job within the mechanical subdivision of the career fields. So I put my 10 jobs. Structural maintenance was first. I think the job that I got was probably like 5th or something like that. It wasn't high up on the list. But during basic is when they review your dream sheet and then they make that decision based on what the Air Force needs. So that's how I ended up with that job. It wasn't like a choice.
Got you. So let me ask you this. So when did you decide that you wanted to go to the military, and was the Air Force your first choice?
I think it was junior year of high school when I realized, like, here's everybody applying for colleges, you know, taking the ACT, the SAT, all that stuff. And I was just like, I don't want to do any of that, you know? And I started thinking recently that I just became like this, where I don't do anything that I don't want to do. But now I'm realizing I've kind of always done that. You know, I was like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. So junior year, I had a conversation with the girl I was with at the time, and her dad was or is a retired Marine. So that's what kind of steered me in that direction. Like, oh, I actually have this as an option. So the Marines was the first choice, because you know how we used to be, you know, always in the dojang, you know, training and stuff like that, always doing something physical.
Right.
And so I was like, I want to be challenged physically. And so that's why the Marines was the first choice. They have the hardest and the longest basic training. They get the most combat training, you know, no matter what job it is. Like in the Marines, you're a rifleman first. So you have to be prepared to go to battle no matter what your job is. You could be a desk job. You could be picking up towels at the gym. You know, you're still a rifleman first. So that was my first choice. And then Army second. And then the Air Force was actually the third choice. The Navy wasn't even a consideration.
Wow. Okay. So, and especially since you're talking more physical, right? Like, so the Marines being the first, Army being the second, if you're not going to the Marines.
Yeah.
And then obviously from I think long-term college setup, like, I think you leave Air Force basic with college credits.
Yes.
That's how I understand it. And from a white collar job perspective, when you leave, if you decide to leave the Air Force, you're like pretty much set up for like a white collar job.
Right.
More so than if you were to go to like the Marines or like the Army or something like that.
Yeah,
those are
for
more
sure.
like directed towards combat.
Right.
So you said that you regret the job that you chose, or in that process, do you have, if you could change, or do you ever have an opportunity to change the route of what you did?
Yeah, I do. And I wouldn't necessarily say I regret it. It's just, because if you ask me, like, would you go back and change that job if you could, I wouldn't. The experiences I've had, you know, being only 22 and the amount of things that I've seen and done because of this job, it's priceless. So I wouldn't even go back and change the job. I just know that I don't want to stay in the job for an extended period of time. So I signed a 6-year contract. After 5 years, you're eligible to cross-train so you can pursue a different career path. I'm not going that route because I've learned what I needed to learn about the Air Force to realize that I want to be an officer. You know, so now that's the route I'm pursuing now, where I just need to finish school. So I already have my associate's degree through the Community College of the Air Force. That satisfies half of my bachelor's degree credits, and I've been working on it since then. So my bachelor's probably has, you know, a year or two left, and then I'll have that bachelor's degree and I'll be able to commission. So now I'm applying for ROTC so I can finish school all in one, you know, don't have to work and do school like I've been doing. I just want to go to school full time, knock out the last couple of years, and then go back in. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and that's how I'm paving the way to get out of this career field, you know?
Got it. Okay. That's pretty dope. So I was going to ask that. So you have to actually leave the Air Force to be a part of Air Force ROTC?
It depends. So there are two programs I'm applying for right now. One allows me to stay active duty and retain my time in service while I'm going to school. And basically I'm being paid, instead of being paid to, you know, work on fighter jets, I'm being paid to go to school. The other program requires you to quote unquote separate from the Air Force. So I would be a civilian, but it comes with a guaranteed commission at the end. So I get out, I go to ROTC, and then when I'm done with my degree, I come right back in. But the 2 or 3 years that I'm in school don't count towards my time in service.
Got it. So like if you wanted to do 20 years and retire, you'd have to essentially stay there till you were, I guess, 40
instead of 38. Right.
Got it. Okay. So that makes sense. That's pretty dope though that they have, and I guess like we always think like our situation is unique. Nobody's ever done this before.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, there's been plenty of people who've done it. And matter of fact, there's 2 different routes that you can take.
Right.
So if I'm going into the military today, if I am a person that just enlisted or just signed up, what would be like some tips that you would tell them going into basic, like to make sure that they're doing from somebody who has gone through it like 4 years ago?
So basic has changed a lot due to COVID and everything like that. I don't know exactly how it is now, but from my basic experience, I would say, you know, enjoy it, you know, make friends, stuff like that. Like there are people I went to basic with that I still talk to today. The connections that I make in the military are I think the most important part of everything that I do. It's not necessarily like what I get to see or where I get to go and all that stuff. It's more about the people I meet and those connections that I build. So throughout basic, whenever you get that chance, go talk to somebody, you know, go talk to, you know, people that sleep. You're going to be sleeping in a room with about 48 other guys or girls, you know? So go talk to that person that sleeps next to you, get to know them, get to know as many people as you can. But also on the military side of things, pay attention. Like pay attention to how certain people of certain rank carry themselves, and just take note and use that when you get out. You know, there are certain political parts of the military that are very important to your success in the end game. And it took me a while to learn how to play that game. Some people go in and they're like, oh, if somebody yells at me, you know, this is how I would react. You like drop that.
Hold on 1 second. We gonna stop that for a second. I'm gonna pause you for a second. So like, cause that's good advice. But and the reason why that's good advice is because that doesn't just pertain to the military.
Right.
Like, look at the people who are successful around you, individual in the 9 to 5, the person working retail. Look at your manager. Like, we have this idea of what we think it takes to get to the top. Mm-hmm. And then the reality of that might be different.
Right.
And there's a game that has to be played. And sometimes we identify certain obstacles that we create ourselves to be not a part of the game. Mm. Like, oh, he got that job because that person's Asian and the manager's Asian. As opposed to saying he got that job because he shaves every day. Mm. And he doesn't necessarily want to shave every day, but he understands that that's part of the game.
Right.
Like it's part of the rules. Like you can't, if you're playing basketball, you can't just grab the ball and run down the court. You have to dribble.
Right. Right.
And you can't be mad at the person that knows how to dribble well or who's dribbling and they're not getting called for travels.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So like that advice is wonderful. Understand the people around you, especially your superiors and how they play the game, and start to see how you can be impacted positively by duplicating some of the things that they're doing.
Right.
whether you're in the military or you're at a job or whatever the case may be, if somebody's somewhere you want to be, glean things from them. That was dope. Yeah, keep going.
There's also, I mean, especially in my career field, because my career field can get pretty toxic. So something I learned is that you learn a lot more from who you don't want to be than you do from who you want to be. You know, you might idolize someone and you might just pick up a few things from them because you idolize them because they're unique. You know, you might not be able to do what they do. But when it comes to people that, you know, make you feel bad, you can not do what they do. That's easy. It's easy to not do what someone's doing. It's a lot easier than it is to duplicate what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned a lot of my tactic since I've been in the military is looking at people that set a negative example and making sure I'm not like them once I get to their position. Because normally it's the higher ranking individuals, or at least higher ranking than you. You know, so at one point you're going to get to that rank, and then you get to pick and choose whether you want to be like the person that made you feel like crap, or if you want to be more like the people that made you feel amazing. Yeah, and made you feel valued. You know, so that's another thing.
That's the same for like even when we were going through like martial arts, right? Like you had third dans that were like, "Ooh, I don't like when that person's teaching,"
right?
Or you had some first dans that were like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that class." Versus the higher belt class, the instruction may not be as in depth, but I walk away from that class feeling a lot better. So now I just need to add the information that the third dan has,
right?
But present it the way that the first dan is presented.
Exactly. You gotta take pieces from everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's negative or positive, you gotta take that and build your own persona. And that's how I ended up how I am now. You know, there was you, there was Aleem, there's all kinds of these people that I looked up to coming up, you know, going through middle school and high school. I could look up to you guys. And there were also people that I was surrounded by that were, you know, negative influences. So it's really just taking those pieces and putting in the puzzle together and figuring out what you want to be, you know? So, and that goes in any environment really. So
yeah, no, that was dope. So that was I think that was 2. You got anything else as far as going through basic?
No, I mean that's really it. Just you kind of, but basic is so simple. It's so simple. You realize it once you get out that it's like, dang, I wish I could go back. It's like when you were in elementary school and you had no responsibilities. All you had to do was go to school, you play around a little bit, and then you go home, you go to sleep, and you do it again. Right? Versus now you got bills, you got car payment and all this stuff, you know? Basic is like that. Enjoy it while you're there. And it seems so stressful, but that's all on purpose. And it's all for a reason. And it's something that I won't even spoil, really. Like it's something that you got to find out for yourself. You know, anyone who's interested in joining and does that, it's something that you'll piece together afterwards, and you'll be like, oh, this is why they told us to do this that way, and this is why, you know, it builds character. Yeah. But really all it is just following those instructions and attention to detail. You know, you gotta make sure you're not leaving anything out, and that's really it. Basic is the easiest part of joining, at least in the Air Force. I don't know how it is in the Marines and stuff like that, but yeah, in the Air Force, basic is the easiest part.
Yeah, he's only speaking to the Air Force, y'all. I just want to be clear on that. He only has authority in his perspective when it comes to the air. I don't want like Army people listening to this and Marine. He don't know nothing. Like, shut up. We're not talking about y'all.
Exactly.
If y'all want to come up in here and have a conversation, I'm open. I would love to hear from y'all, but we talking about Air Force today. So what rank are you today?
I'm a staff sergeant. So I just sewed on. Yeah, I just sewed on. Hold on.
Wait. All right, wait, man. Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
For my other branches, that's an E5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just sewed on in August, staff sergeant. I made it. I had to wait an entire year to sew on. I found out not this past August, but the August before that I made it. And they give you like a shadow stripe, it's like half of a stripe. And they're like, you can lose this in the snap of a finger. Like it's easy to lose that staff select, right? So it was an entire year of keeping my nose clean and trying to keep my head down and grind, But now that it's on, I feel like it's freeing, because when people meet you, they don't see you as, oh, you're a new staff sergeant. They see you as you're a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
So it takes that. It also takes that time. It's a learning curve, Like I am still a new staff, so I have a lot to learn. But it's all about, for me at least, the confidence, owning that you have that rank and embodying that, and thinking about all the staff sergeants that I had coming up that influenced me positively, trying to be like them in a way, you know, while also maintaining my unique perspective. So
that's dope, man. So Staff Sergeant Pierce, man, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Okay. So you get done with basic. I feel like they immediately flew you out to your location.
They did. Not to Italy. So I went from basic training in Texas to Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. Mm-hmm. And that's where I had my job training. So that's, we call it tech school, technical training. So you go from Lackland Air Force Base, I went to Shepherd, and I was at Shepherd for, I want to say like 8 months or something like that. And then I went to Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico for hot training. So that's running aircraft and all that stuff. Like jets are actually doing the mission, but you're there learning how the mission works versus just staring at a static jet and looking at parts and stuff like that and learning how to service things, So I went to Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico, came back home for I think like a week, and then flew out to Italy in April of 19. So
got it. So Italy. So when did you meet old girl?
The ex-wife.
Listen, man. I don't even remember her name. But when did you meet old girl, and how did that go? Actually, no. So when did you break up with your girlfriend?
The high school sweetheart.
Yes.
So we were together. She actually came to basic training graduation and everything.
Okay.
And then it was in tech school, I want to say probably like a month in or so, that we actually broke up. So the way the story goes, I went to basic. Obviously, I had a girlfriend and all that stuff. So the 1 week of basic where you do get to mingle with the other gender is called Beast Week. Basic Expeditionary. I can't even remember. It's expeditionary training. So it's like training for deployment.
Okay.
And that's the week where we're living in tents and we're bear crawling through sand and like doing all this crazy stuff, eating MREs and all kinds of stuff. So that's where I met my ex-wife for the first time. And I didn't really think anything of it because, I got a girlfriend. I'm not really looking around like that. But I met her. She was cool. The only reason we spoke is because we were both the leader of our flight for that week. So we were required, the four flights in that group were required, those beast monitors had to coordinate things such as how we're getting to lunch, who's going in first, and where we're going from here, how to march the flights and stuff like that. We had to coordinate those things. So that's why we became cool, was through that. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, the week comes for the job, like picking jobs. Not us picking jobs, but them letting us know what they picked for us, right? And we found out we both got the same job and we're going to the same tech school. It's like, oh, cool. Like, I'll see you there, Fast forward, talking to the high school sweetheart at this time, and I'm like, figuring out what her plan is after high school because she was in her senior year at the time. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I think I want to join the military as well. She wants to go into the Navy and stuff like that. And in the military, obviously I'm like 18 at the time, but the military, the way it works is if you want to be stationed with your partner, especially if they're also in the military, y'all have to be married, right? So this is a discussion I had with her, was like, I'm not trying to rush this stuff. I'm not trying to do it right now, but I'm thinking like a couple years from now, what do we do? And her idea was, obviously her parents were kind of influential on her at the time. She's living with them, and they kind of choose what she does and doesn't do.
Of course.
But her idea was, I don't want to be married until I'm in my late 20s, like 28, 29, 10 years from now.
Right.
I'm like, what? Are you for real? You know, like a long distance for like, because right now, me just going to basic training was a struggle. Now me being in Texas and she's in Georgia, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
But you want to do this for 10 years?
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Right.
So
y'all had to have, hold on. So y'all had to have, I love this. I love this. Why am I just getting this now?
I don't know.
So you were like, nah.
Yeah. That was really the only reason I broke up with her.
So you hadn't done, we about to have a real you didn't do anything wrong.
Wait,
at all in basic.
In basic? What you mean, like with girls or whatever?
Yeah.
Hell nah. In
What?
basic training? Hell no. You don't even have an opportunity for that.
All right, wait. So the first month, we're going to get to the gritty. So the first month of you going to this tech school,
Yeah.
and she's still at home.
Yeah.
You didn't do nothing wrong?
No. Nah.
Yo, you built different.
Bro, I don't cheat, bro.
At 18?
Yeah. I don't
At
cheat, bro.
18? No. At 18?
Yeah. Yeah. The closest I ever got to what you would call cheating or anything, and this was like a big deal in the high school relationship that I'm still like, I still kick myself for it today, was like flirting with my female friends, like texting and stuff like that. And she saw it and was like very torn up about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the one thing I'm like.
So when you say you kicking yourself for it, what you mean?
I just like, why? Like, why do I, you know, like naturally I'm a flirty person. I'm a very, like I build myself to be very charismatic, you know, very smooth, if you want to call it or whatever. But when I have a girlfriend, like I'm focused on her. I don't even notice, like, and this is something we'll get into when we start talking about the marriage, but I don't even notice girls being interested in me and stuff like that. I'm pretty much just like the horse with the blinders. You know, I don't know what's going on with the other girls. I'm just like, this is my girl.
Yeah.
And I'll tell everybody. I'll scream it from the rooftops. You know,
I saw.
I mean, you was there. Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I'm there, but I'm not there because all of the sharing you were doing about, you know, the things that were happening.
Yeah. So that's one thing I'm like, dang, like that's the one thing I can regret, you know, is like flirting with female friends and stuff like that, is like, because that obviously that made her feel some type of way. Right. And it may not be full on cheating, but, you know, having your partner talking to other people in whatever way is something that will hurt your feelings.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so now being older and looking back, you know, and we actually had one conversation since we stopped talking. And that was like, I think it was about a year ago.
Oh, this is high school sweetheart.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is the only conversation, not even in person. Like, this is the only time we've talked in all these years, right? It was about a year ago. Long story short, my parents were moving back to McDonough, and they like drove by her like the house that she was living in. I'm pretty sure her mom still lives there. I don't know, but they drove by the house, and so they thought it was funny to hit me up and be like, "Oh, we saw Ellie today." I'm like, huh? What do you know, I started sweating. I'm like, what you mean you saw her?
Sweating.
Yeah, I'm like, what you mean you saw her? Blah, blah, blah. And my mom was messing with me, but I didn't know that. So like I was telling some friends that were with me at the time, like I think we were at work, and I was like, yo, like they like my parents talking about they like were talking to my ex or whatever. Like I haven't talked to her in like 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what she look like? Blah, blah, blah. So I try to pull up her Instagram. forgetting that she blocked me a while ago.
Yeah.
Right? But keep in mind, I pull it up and it comes up, which means I'm unblocked.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, like I don't follow her, so I can't see her pictures, but like this is her Instagram. And one of my like, I think it was one of my female friends like grabbed my phone and thought it was funny to hit follow. I'm like,
of course.
Okay. Like I didn't expect anything to come of it.
Yeah.
But I got a very long message after that. Basically like she's married now and like, you know, my name popping up is not good for her relationship and like, you know, stop trying to, you know, that type thing. I'm like, oh, I wasn't even trying to do that for real, you know?
Right.
Like that was not the intention.
But hold on, wait. So, and this is why life is so funny. 'Cause 3 years prior, she stated that she didn't want to get married for a decade.
Yeah, it's ironic.
It's not even ironic. It's people have to understand, like, hold on. Like people get married to the idea of what they think their life is going to be, and then their life changes. And certain people have the fluidity to move in that change. And certain people get stuck in what they married 3 years ago,
right? Even
though their life changed. So she could have been in a position to be like, no, I told myself at 18 that I wasn't getting married to 28. And I feel like people live in that space so that when they turn 28, no matter who they're with, that's the person that they marry.
I didn't even think about that.
And the person that they should have married 3 years ago, 5 years ago, they let go,
right?
Because they romanticized, we're not going to do this until I get to a certain stage in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's just ironic how the thing that you were asking her to do, she didn't understand. You had more perspective because you had now gone out.
Right.
And like experienced life and so on and so forth. Now, 3 years later, she's presented with the same opportunity. And by that time, guess what? You weren't an option anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. So you call, so y'all hit each other up. This is what, oh my God. So you weren't an option anymore. So she couldn't even hit you because you were married. So even if she wanted to, you had already moved on.
That's true.
And were with somebody else. So she unblocked you to see if you were an option.
That could be.
So you were married and just didn't unblock you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, man.
I hope not. I hope that's not the case, but yeah.
I'm just speculating, y'all. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
All right, so
yeah.
So you hit her. So she responds. She's like, I you popping up on my thing is an issue, this, that, and the third. Or it could be an issue. That's not a good look.
Right.
I don't want to play myself. So what do you say?
I pretty much told her what I told you. Like, that's not the intention. This is what actually happened, and I told her the story. And then I thought back to after training when I came home for recruiter assistance program. Right before I went to Italy, I came home to help out my recruiter for a little bit. And I went to my high school and I was hearing stories about like how after we broke up, she was saying that like I cheated and stuff like that. And I was like, what? So when I was messaging her, I felt the need, for some reason, I felt the need to let her know, like, I heard this and I want to let you know, like, that never happened, because me moving on from her to my ex-wife was a pretty quick move on.
No,
right?
Really?
Yeah. But
no.
But I had to let her know that like that wasn't going on while we were together,
Yeah.
And then that's when she brought up the female friends and the flirting, and I was like, dang, like she's right. And I felt bad about it. I still feel bad about it to this day. I'm like, I don't want to make anybody feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I'm not a cheater, bro. Because it's like, imagine yourself in that position. Finding that out. Maybe nowadays, me personally, it wouldn't be that big of a deal for me because I've lost a lot of my capability to, the easiest way to say it is my capability to care.
Okay.
You know, I've lost a lot of that.
Right.
I lost a lot of my patience with relationships and just everything that is pretty necessary to maintain a relationship is hard for me now because of what I've gone through. Right. But I still don't ever want to. I'm still a kind-hearted person at the end of the day. Like I don't want to make anybody who loves me or cares about me, you know, strongly feel betrayed.
Right.
You know, so that was a hard hitter for me when she told me like that was something that messed her up for a while. I was like, dang.
So when your parents drove by old girl house though, and they said that they saw her, and you got sweaty,
I was like, bruh.
Like what emotion? What emotion was that you felt?
Let me think. I can't even explain it. It was just like an instant like butterflies. Like I saw her name and I was like, what? Like
so
what?
like you still had feelings?
No, not like that. It was just I don't even know. It was scary almost. You know, it's like why? Like what does she think? That's kind of like what was going through my head. Like what does she think about me?
Okay.
You know, and her seeing my parents, if that were to happen, I feel like wouldn't be easy for her either. Because it just brings back a lot of, it's the same thing as when I got that text. It brings back a lot of that emotion from that era. It's like a chapter that was closed, but now it's just like the corner is bent now. The page corner is dog-eared. It's like you're going to go back to it.
Because there's still feelings.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think there's still feelings, like active feelings or anything like that.
So let me ask you this. If your ex-wife were to hit you
on some,
or like if your parents would see your ex-wife somewhere, would you have an emotion?
No, because we still talk. Like we are still
okay,
cool.
Right.
You know?
Right. Okay.
Right. Like so I just talked to her a couple of days ago. You know what I mean? So
got you.
That one is simple.
Oh, okay. So then, all right. So let's talk about okay. So you started dating old girl.
Yeah.
Like shortly after y'all broke up. This was in tech school.
Right.
Right. So how long? Because I feel like I was like, I feel like you went to the military, you started posting this new girl, and then y'all was married.
It was a long time, bro.
You only been in the military for 4 years, bro. It's not a long time.
But it was like before the marriage, it was like a good 3 years. You know
what?
It wasn't short.
How old were you when you got married?
20. So it was like 2.5. It was like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah, bro.
Something like that.
Like it was.
You got to think of where I'm at.
Where's your birthday?
4/20.
4/20. Okay.
Yeah.
So your birthday is 4/20.
Mm-hmm.
You graduate in June. Basic is 9 weeks. 8 weeks, 7 weeks?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
So 2 months goes by. Another month goes by. You break up with your girl.
Something like that, yeah. I think we started dating in October.
Uh-huh.
And then let me think.
And I guess like in this, because I think it might have been presented like I assumed that she was your wife, but y'all may not have been married yet.
Probably not.
That was probably something that like I'm looking at the optics like, oh, like, because you be going all chips on the table, all in.
I'm dead.
Like when he get a new girl, or at least before he got jaded, we're gonna talk about his jadedness. Before he got jaded in relationships, all in. I'm talking like he got a pair of twos, all.
I'm dead. You a fool. You a clown. Oh man.
So I think I was just under the assumption. Then y'all got the dog and all this other type of stuff. All right, so y'all get done with tech school. Y'all both end up going to the same place?
Yeah, so that's it's funny how it works, right? So things come in waves in the Air Force, I've noticed. So like, for example, if I'm getting ready to leave my base and move to another base, right, and I got like 3 other people that are doing the same thing, it's highly likely that we're all going to the same place. So this is what happened is, like I said, we joined the same day. We were in basic in the same like graduating class, right? We find out that we got the same job, which means we're eligible for all the same bases. Not only that, but because we graduated the same day, we left the same day and went to tech school the same day, which somehow puts us in the same class, like the same tech training class. So we were in the same class in tech school all throughout, like together every single day.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how, when the breakup happened, that's how we ended up together. But not only does that mean that we're in the same class, but that means almost everyone in our class went to the same base, the same first base.
Got you.
The only people that didn't were, we had two guard guys, like Air Force, like basically part-time Air Force. So we had 2 National Guard guys that ended up going back home, because that's what they do. They go through the same basic training as us,
Yep.
but they're not active duty. They're part-time, I guess. Like, it's hard to explain.
Got it.
But they go back home.
Okay.
And then we had one guy that went to, I believe he went to either Korea or Japan, and he was the one like unicorn, out of the class.
Gotcha.
Everyone else went to Italy.
And I guess at that time too, like you guys are learning, growing, studying, discovering life, trying to find your place. Like I remember like college was that for us. Like college was like, who am I? Who am I going to become? Who am I in this environment? Who are going to be my people in this new environment? Because you didn't have people that you grew up with. Now you got to find new friends. And it's also interesting that you said one of the things that you gave as far as a tip in regards to basic was like relationships, because that carries, if you're right about the pattern of kind of who you come in with, if you have the same job, you end up at the same place, those relationships may start and you may not have an idea of like, these are going to be things that are long lasting, but they end up being the group that you just grow with throughout life. Yeah. And then that makes sense that you said you talked to her a couple of days ago, because y'all discovered and live in life parallel to each other.
Yeah. I mean, and that was a later chapter in her life though, because you gotta keep in mind she's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
So she had already gone to college and all this stuff and lived on her own, had her own dog, all her own responsibilities and all that stuff before.
She robbed a cradle, bro?
Hey, relax, bro.
Oh my gosh, man. Never mind, keep going.
Yeah, she was 4 years older. She's 4 years older than me.
He's like, she's going to hear this.
But yeah, so she's already kind of figured out who she is. But now, and I think this is part of the reason why it didn't end up working out in the end, is because she's watching me become me. She's already done it.
Yeah.
But now she's got to sit here and watch me mature.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure you know this better than most people, is I'm a little ahead of my time. Not a lot, like maybe just a couple years or so, right? But that's still not at the same level as her.
Also, too, women just naturally mature faster.
Exactly.
So
that makes it worse.
Yeah, so it's like, and I think that's part of the reason why I was like, there's no way that she's older than you, especially that much older than you, with the level of responsibility that's about to be put on your head as her partner. And like, you got to grow.
Yeah, still.
Like, you still got to grow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's still, like, I still got to grow, and I'm 14 years older than you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's still things that I'm learning about being a husband. There's still things that I'm learning about being a man, about being a dad, about being an employee, about being, you know what I mean? So like, there's a certain level that women have as far as expectation of what the man needs to do, be, etc. And they got to be patient. Sometimes it's like, we don't even start learning till we're 30. So like the fact that you are, and ladies, ladies, who, if you're listening, we don't start learning until we're 30, 31, 32. So like women are like, oh man, this guy, this, that, and the third, and da 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 da. Like, we simple creatures.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? Like, we like, give us a video game, a cot, and like some Chick-fil-A, White Castle, whatever. Like whatever, insert your basic food, and like we good. Straight. Like that's all we need. Like, do y'all need flowers for what? Y'all need this for what? You know what I mean? Like we don't need that stuff. But it's important to you guys, and we have to learn that. But that takes time. But keep going. So so y'all get done, y'all graduate, and then y'all end up going to Italy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we somehow, I don't even remember how this happened, but so we both went home for a recruiter assistance program for like the 10 days or whatever it was. And then we ended up she's coming from the West Coast, I'm coming from the East Coast, and we end up in Baltimore together on the same overseas flight. So, but keep in mind, we're dating at the time, so maybe we coordinated. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. But so we flew in together, sitting next to each other on the same flight, got off, and like figured out the dorm situation and all that together. So that was dope, having that support system and stuff, you know. But yeah, and then we were together for, a couple years and stuff before the marriage happened. But it was definitely after getting to Italy and realizing that like we don't have the freedom to be with each other all day, every day anymore, because we're not in training. We're not sitting in class right next to each other anymore.
Right.
We got to go to work. We got to go handle business. I got to go on temporary duties and stuff like that. I went to Vegas, and that was like the first, struggle, being away from her and stuff like that, her being away from me. We didn't know how to manage that because we've literally been all day, every day, except when sleeping together,
right,
for so long. So that's when the struggles started, and that was the first indication that this might not work out,
So who was struggling more at the time? Was it you or was it her?
Her, okay. That time.
Okay.
Because for me, we had very different ways of coping with things. My way was just focus on what I got to focus on, and then whenever I get back, But for her, it was like she needed that attention, that reassurance that everything is okay and that we're still good. And I didn't, I hadn't learned that at the time.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how am I going to get through these couple months without her, but not how is she going to get through it.
Right.
So that was an awakening for me at the time, was like figuring out that, like when I got back, she had gone so long without me helping her cope, that she had her own way. And so when I got back, she had her own schedule and her own routine, and incorporating me back into it was not easy.
Yeah.
And we almost broke up because of that. It was like I got back and now I'm like in her way.
Right.
She's like trying to walk around the small dorm room that we share, trying to brush her teeth or whatever. And I'm like in the way. She's like, bro, can you move? Like, like that type stuff.
Gotcha.
So that was the first big struggle. And it reintroduced itself a couple times as well.
Do you know what your love language is?
I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it's physical touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know, and what's her love language?
Quality time, I believe.
Okay.
We found this out the day we broke up, actually.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. That's interesting that it took that to, or that was being the timing that you guys found that out. Because for couples who are like going through things, like we all think that like how we want to be loved is the way that we should love other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the value system of love or affection or ways to show commitment or admiration is different for people, person to person. So,
Yeah.
you know, for people who don't know the 5 love languages, go Google it. It's dope that you know that now. So like now at 22, you could take that into any relationship and say, hey, like physical touch is like a thing. For most men who are out there, physical touch and words of affirmation are usually the top 2. Like, tell me I'm doing a good job.
Right.
Because masculinity is predicated on what we do. Femininity is predicated on who they are. And so we have to affirm who they are, which is what she was seeking. And you're like, I just got to do this.
Yeah.
So you're like, you're operating in masculine. She's operating in feminine, and you're not meeting each other.
Right.
Right. And so when you come back, you're like, well, I don't understand what your issue is. I did everything I was supposed to do. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. And she's like, I did everything I was supposed to do. You ain't do nothing you were supposed to do. And it's that understanding of why it's so important to understand like femininity, masculinity, and protecting it and understanding it is how it's going to play out in relationships for you going forward.
Right.
And men, women are like, men is like, oh man, I do everything I'm supposed to do. I support you financially, so I'm good. I check that box. I check the what do you do box. Even like when you meet like a man, anybody. Hey man, how you doing? My name is Jarad. Okay, what's going on? Da 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 da. Hey, what do you do for a living?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
For women, it's like, it's a whole, well, how does they make you feel when he said that? Even like if we're having a conversation, man, you know what? I ain't feeling that girl. You be like, oh, dag, all right, cool, let's get back to the games. If a woman's like, man, I'm not feeling that, man, she's like, well, why?
Right.
What about him don't you feel?
Yeah.
It's a whole lot more to the conversation, and like we don't lend ourselves or extend ourselves into that space sometime in relationships.
I think that's why I succeed now in dating and stuff like that is because I have that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know if it came from being married.
No, it did.
It did?
It did.
So there's that, when conversations are my strong suit. That is easy for me to have a conversation with literally anyone. And it comes from the fact that I listen.
Yeah.
So you tell me something and I ask you questions about that thing, like that one thing we're talking about. It's not, oh, what's your favorite color? What do you do for work? Like, it's not a bunch of random topics. It's one thing and we go deep on that.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of self-improvement and research on my part to fine tune that and be able to use it effectively.
Yeah.
And not only dating, but, in the political military side of things as well, is like, it's easy for me to get to know people. And when I get to know someone, they get to know me. And now them knowing me has some impact in some way in the future.
Right.
Almost always.
Right.
And that's how I see it. Maybe even if it's not true, that's how I see it. I don't like to burn bridges. I don't like to make people, or I don't like to have people dislike me, and I'm not a people pleaser either.
Right.
I'm just nice, I like people. So I treat people with respect and hope that they treat me the same.
Yeah.
And if not, we don't need to be around each other. That's fine as well. But I would prefer to be cordial with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
man, good for you, man. A lot of life circumstances, and the reason why I'm so confident, and I could be wrong, but the reason why I'm so confident that marriage taught you that is because, once again, life circumstance requires improvement in areas that if you don't do certain things, you're just not going to improve in those areas.
Right.
And the ways that we improve in regards to circumstances is always different. Like, some people glean like different things out of relationships, but that particular thing is like, that's going to carry you through, but you probably wouldn't have learned that. That's why most guys don't know that at 22,
right,
20, 19, because I'll even say it for me, I got married much older than you did. And that's stuff that I had to learn at 30 that now I tell Chelsea, like, Chelsea, you married the best version of Jarad.
Right.
Like, the next woman that gets Pierce is going to be like, dag on, you much better than any guy in it. Well, because you've been through things that a lot of these guys haven't been through.
Yeah.
You got the battle scars, literally, figuratively, spiritually, mentally, to like and you had a desire to learn from them. I think that's
Right.
the other part. Like, how do I protect myself necessarily, but how do I protect the other person that I love? Because I feel like you have that in your character. Like, you're like, oh man, I felt bad about this. I wanted to make sure that I don't want to make anybody feel bad that loves me. Like, you have this protector, I protect the people that I love mentality. So as opposed to like saying I want to protect myself from feeling that way, like, how do I learn to prevent this from happening so that another person doesn't feel this way?
Yeah. I was actually just talking to my boy about that last night, saying that I learn from every run-in I have with, like, for example, in dating, right? I learned a lot from the marriage. I learned a lot from the girls that I talked to post-marriage and the girls that I talk to now. But now, if I go on a date, guarantee I'm gonna add something to the arsenal of things that I've learned about women, right? Or my list of things that I like and dislike or want and don't want in a possible future relationship. I have no plans to get in a relationship anytime soon because it's just like a trial and failure thing for me recently. But I know that if I did, I would know once I meet that girl that's worth the relationship, I would know. Because it's like I've met so many girls that have said or done things that I loved, and I've met so many girls that like I'm just around them, I'm like, you're annoying me. Like you're just irritating me at this point. So it's and that's what I didn't realize when I got into the marriage relationship was that she always told me, you've only really like been with one girl. There's no experience there. Like you don't know what you want. Like, how do you know that you want me type thing? And I was like, either way, like I'm with you. So I'm not like, I don't care about these other women.
That's the lie. Like our generation, I think our generation and like lower. So like your generation, Gen Y, Gen Z. I'm a millennial, I guess. We have like this FOMO mentality. Like, oh, how do you know that you're the best? That I'm the one for you? How do you know that when there's all these women in the world and all these Instagram women and da 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 da? Like I don't live in a space that I'm comparing that way.
Right.
But a lot of the world is. And so that's the lie that a lot of people believe, that everybody feels that way. Like, how do you know that? I know the same way people knew back in the 1800s. Like, you're my person. Because even your parents been together for a long time.
Very long.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have to be like the open world relationship things that we have going on right now.
Right.
But so because of that, if you chose a person, like that was your person. Like, we gonna stick to it through thick or thin. And when you don't have a model of what that looks like in your life at home, and I don't know what her situation is, I didn't. And so a lot of that was like waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, when is she gonna tell me that she found a better man? Or when am I gonna know that, oh man, I made a mistake and this isn't the one for me?
Right.
Right. But I believe that that's the lie that the world tries to tell us, for us to stay on the lookout for stuff. Like, keep on looking. FOMO, you're gonna miss out on your one once again, because it's not done or presented in a way that you want it to be presented or desired to be presented. And now something else or something changes, and you're like, daggone. A lot of people mess up a good thing because they think something else is coming. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. A lot of people mess up great things that they have in their lives and regret that for the rest of their life because they think, for whatever reason, that something else is coming. And we got to get out of that mentality.
Yeah.
We got to get out of it. If you have a good thing, water it, appreciate it,
grow it,
put it in soil, grow with it. Allow that person to water you. Allow that person to appreciate you, because this world crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't know, like, everybody's a used car. Everybody. Like, oh man, it looks great, man. It's presented. It's my sexy red that I like, and da 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 da. When I start the car up,
Yeah.
what's going on with that? You ain't telling me you had engine problems. We don't have Carfax on people.
Oh man.
Right?
Yep.
Like, everybody has an issue.
It's just, what is it? You know?
And can you handle it?
Exactly.
Because the person that you think doesn't have the issue, they got an issue.
Yeah. It just might be a different one.
Can you handle that one? I know I can handle the one I have. This one's presented differently. Can I handle that issue? I don't know that. I got to be in it to understand what the issue is. And usually it takes marriage for you to find out.
Yeah. But I would almost say that my experiences have pushed me towards the other side as well. So not where I have a fear of missing out, and not that I think something is coming in the future. It's just that I know I have other options. And that has been one of the most healthiest things for me.
Okay.
Like the most healthy things for me. So back in the day, you remember I was always in relationships. Right? Girl would give me some attention, and I thought she was cute. I'm like, all right, she's mine. You know, and that's it. Right? Whereas nowadays, it's like, you give me attention, we could talk, but then there's always, you know, billions of other people in the world,
right,
that I could speak to. So it's that gives me the mindset where it's like, I can't be walked on. I can't be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you cannot walk all over me, because as soon as you start displaying something, because I'll set my boundaries up right from the jump, right? But as soon as you cross that, I'll let you know. Like,
can we talk about bro? Bro, can we talk about boundaries?
Bro, they're so simple in my opinion. Like now though.
Right.
You know, like, I'm gonna tell you, right, let's say right here, all right, I don't like girls who write with their left hand or something, right? And so when I meet you, you faking it, you're writing with your right hand, and then you start writing with your left hand once we get comfortable. And I'm like, I told you I didn't like that. You know what I mean? And then now it's like, it's why, like, the thing I don't understand is why people get confused when they cross that boundary, and then you tell them, like, bro, I will up and leave right now. You know, like, they think that you're stuck for some reason. And that's the mindset that I don't like on the opposite end of the fear of missing out, is people, men mostly men, they get stuck in a relationship because they think that person is the only person that will give them any attention, or that person is the only person that sees them in that way. And that's how I used to feel, right? Whereas now it's like, I might meet a girl who thinks I'm the sexiest man alive, but I'm not gonna just settle down just because of that. There's a almost like a recruiting process, or like an interview process that you have to go through if this is going to become anything serious. And that's something I respect myself for now, is because a lot of guys can't do that. A lot of guys chase the girl, and they're like, oh, I have to prove myself to this woman so that she'll take me. What about her and you, my boy? Like, what about making her prove herself to you? What does she have to offer you, to build you, to grow you? Mm-hmm. And that's my mindset now, is like, I'll give you the boundaries. And that's why my last relationship didn't work out, because it's like, I'll give you the boundaries. You cross the boundaries, I might give you one more chance. And in this instance, I gave her 3, right? And if you just continue to let that happen, you give the boundaries and they get crossed, and you just let it happen, that's going to happen for the rest of your life.
For sure.
If you stay with that girl, guarantee you let some stuff slide, or even for girls with their guys, like, you let some stuff slide 1 or 2 times, now they know, like, oh, she don't really mean it. He don't really mean it. You know, like, he's not going to do anything. He's not leaving.
Right.
I left.
He ain't about that life.
Yeah.
You're not about that life?
Bruh, I left.
You're not about that life.
Bro.
You're not about that life.
I left, bro.
So And that's that you hit a good point. I didn't think this conversation was gonna go anywhere that it's going today, by the way, y'all. So yeah, like you have to set boundaries. You got to check people when boundaries get crossed.
And you have to be serious about it. Not just check them, but you have to stand on what you said you would do.
Right. Like accountability. Like that's really what it boils down to, right? Like it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a boundary, whether it's a expectation. If we have a conversation and we come to an agreement and something happens where that's not met, I'm gonna have a conversation with you.
Right.
Like it's accountability.
Yeah.
Like for the things that you're doing or not doing. And I think that we have lost accountability overall in the generation that we live in. Like, period.
Yeah.
But you know why? Because I can just block you. I don't need I don't need to have accountability. I don't need to have an exit conversation with you. I don't need to break up with you. I'll just block you and ghost you.
Ghost, yeah.
Right? Like, that's a relatively new term because everything wasn't on social. Like, you couldn't block the girl that lived next door across the street.
Right. You're going to see them. You're going to bump into them. So
right.
now you got to tell them.
You got to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You had to grow balls and you had to have a conversation. Where, like, now it's like, oh, no, I just don't want to deal with her no more. So I'm going to just block her on social. I'm going to just block her on everything.
Yeah.
And just keep it moving. And act like she never existed.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, we do live in a time where people withdraw and then they don't have any vulnerability. They also don't have any authority.
Right.
And they have no accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
And then when you see something like, oh, that dude was messing with Mike Tyson on the plane and Mike Tyson punched him in the mouth, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe Mike punched him.
What did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean?
Like he's Mike Tyson, first
exactly.
of all. Like, do you know who this man is?
Yes.
Why are you messing with this man?
That's crazy.
Do you know who Staff Sergeant Pierce Davis is? Why are you crossing his boundaries?
Him. Pronouns.
You know what I'm saying?
Him.
He gave you 3 strikes, girl. He gave you 3. So, yeah, like the accountability part is a struggle for all people, I think, at this point.
Right.
Until you get to a place where you understand that if you don't start holding people accountable, they're going to destroy you.
And that another thing, too, is that when you try to have that accountability talk, a lot of people don't want to hear it.
It's uncomfortable.
Exactly. So it's like people are so used to dealing with people that won't call them out on their BS. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I feel some type of way, I'm not scared to bring it up. And that goes for anybody. It goes for my boys, my partners, like anybody that I'm around. It goes for them.
Parents?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. My parents as well. Like, my parents never liked the ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was one thing, like, I had to talk to them about, like, especially my mom. My mom's a hard one to crack. And that's why, like, there are a couple girls in my life now that I could possibly see a future with. And those are the ones my mom loves. It's crazy because, like, some of them, like, go way back as far as, like, when we first met. You know what I'm saying? And I've been interested in them for that long.
Are they West Indian?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, West Indian.
Are you Jamaican or?
No.
Okay.
So I was like, but some of them, like, we have that type of history and they, like, just recently met my parents and my mom liked them. And I was like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where was this?
So, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Let's talk about that for a second.
What?
How important the family is in marriage.
So, coming from someone who had a wife that didn't get along with his parents,
yeah,
I don't think it was influential in whether we stayed together or not. Like, that was not one of the considerations that we had when we broke up.
Yeah. Right.
Obviously for me it sucked. It was awkward, at some points. But it didn't, at least with my parents specifically, my parents specifically, they are very supportive.
Yeah.
When it comes to, even if they don't like somebody, you choose who you're with. They're not the ones that are with her. You know, I am. And so they were very supportive in that aspect. Whereas like, if you want to stay with her, then we will figure out how to, you know, play nice.
Yeah. So I had in my first marriage, and my family, my side of the family, everybody loves my ex-wife.
Okay.
Like, she's cool people. Like, everybody still talks to her, like, separate from me.
Yeah.
Even, right? But there were some things on the other end that were like cause for concern or some issues. And I don't think that was the thing that broke us up. But there was always this continual acknowledgement of, I know we're just doing this to play house.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize or recognize the difference until I got into a marriage where the family
Gets
is like,
along.
you better call me. You better call me mom. Like, I ain't your mother-in-law. I'm your mother-in-love.
Yep.
Like, being presented like, oh, this is my son. And like, the lady's looking at her like, that's not your son.
Right.
She's like, no, this is my son. That's not your son. She might be losing it. Right? Like, that's not your son.
Yeah.
No, that's my son. Right? It's a drastically different perspective on everything, but there's also a different level of like expectation.
Yeah.
So like, Jerry, you better be stopping over here for Christmas.
You're right.
Like not my wife.
You
better be coming over here, right?
Yeah.
Like, we gonna get you a gift because we feel like we're supposed to get you a gift. Now we gonna get you a gift like you our child.
Yeah. See, that's dope.
It's different, bro.
That's dope.
So when you have that support, when you have you could be on the phone with my parents for an hour and a half.
And I'm not even there.
And I'm not there.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
So speaking to you from somebody for the experience, that impacts your marriage so much.
Yeah.
So much when it's both ways. So
Right.
it can happen one way and not the other way. It cannot happen at all. But when it's happening both ways, like, oh yeah, like Chelsea could just go spend time with my aunt or go spend time at our uncle's house, and I didn't got to be there. And I could go spend an hour with her dad on Thursday. That happened, or like 3 hours. Me and him just up there at the listening lounge.
Yeah,
like just kicking it. No Chelsea there. Like, we just relaxing, chick. You know, I'm sharing songs with him. He's sharing tips with me about, you know, how to sell things and so on and so forth. And like, all right, son, I'm getting ready to leave. I'll see you later. Hug.
Yeah.
Peace out.
That's good stuff.
You know what I mean?
Wholesome.
Yeah, like, because you're indoctrinating her and y'all are becoming one. Like,
right.
I feel like that, and that's the hard part about marriage. Like, that's the part that, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, marriage is hard. But why is it hard? Because I have this thing over here and I have this thing over here, and I got to force them to become one. Mm-hmm. And there's things around that thing that may not want that thing to be one with this person.
That's
and
true.
Vice versa. And so that friction, it's not necessarily pulling y'all apart, but it's implanted somewhere in the synchronization of it all.
Yeah, it's like a magnet, you know.
Yeah.
The different poles, and you can still put them together, but it's harder.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's so weird the way life is too, though, because like I said, like my parents never really liked her or whatever, but after we broke up, and like I said, we remained cool and stuff.
Yeah.
I went and met her family. Mm-hmm. And they fell in love with me. So
you hadn't met her until y'all broke up?
Yeah. And so because we were overseas and then COVID happened. Right. So our families probably would have came, you know, to visit if COVID hadn't happened. But that's actually what stopped my parents from meeting her, was the vid. And they still haven't met her to this day. But I came home once and I flew out to go spend some time with her family and get to know them, because I met her mom, and her mom loved me. Her brother loved me. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, let me meet her dad's side of the family. And I did that, and they were fantastic.
Okay.
They were great. Yeah. I still talk to some of them too. So it's like, it's crazy how like that amount of support is something that could be a saving factor.
For sure.
Yeah. So like it could have helped us to stay closer.
It not could have. It would have. Because she would have had conversations. So let's say, for instance, you and her beefing, y'all are going through like regular marriage things. She calls her mom, and her mom is like, da 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 da. But you know Pierce is a good man. You need to stay with him.
Right.
You got to forgive him. Da 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 da. You know, that, and now she
That
can
kind of
speak
thing.
to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I know he wasn't good for you.
Right, because she don't know you, or she doesn't
like you.
Yeah.
Right? I know he was. I told you he wasn't good for you. I told you this. I told you that. Da 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 da. And then here, and then now she's coming back into the relationship with a conversation that puts something against you that you don't even know you're battling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's heat. That's heat. That's dope.
That's why it's like so impactful to like, and that's why it's like, I'm not trying to get like super biblical, but it's like merging of one.
Right.
Like it's like y'all are, everything that's a part of her and everything that's a part of you was like getting pushed together.
Yeah. Damn.
Family, flaws, trauma, all of that stuff is getting pushed together. And like for the first couple years, y'all are like, oh, I didn't know that was a trauma thing for you. I'm sorry.
Right. Like you're figuring it out.
Why are you responding that way?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All of those things. Like it's like a minefield and you're trying to explore and she's trying to explore you and there's a minefield on your side.
Yep.
And like any small thing is like, it could be an explosion. And they're just like, oh, I never saw this side of you.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So y'all are in Italy. Did Italy like impact anything? Like y'all got the beautiful backdrops everywhere y'all go, and like it's like romantic and all that type of stuff. So do you think that played anything into like how things went?
I think the opportunities we have in Italy helped, because I remember vividly there was one point where we were like centimeters away from a breakup, but we had a trip to Greece planned. And we ended up going, and that kind of saved us for like another few months or whatever. You know, like I said, we had our ups and downs.
Yeah.
And that trip started the come up, you know, after the Vegas and all that stuff. It started to bring us back together. So the ability to travel and to go on like getaways frequently helps.
Gotcha.
Because obviously, if I'm over here and I want to go on a getaway, like where am I going to go? Like North Carolina, Florida. You know what I'm saying?
Don't disrespect.
But like
don't disrespect America. Like
versus over there, right? Like, and that's the thing is like over there. So the area where I am, if I wanted to get away for the weekend, I could drive the same amount of time it takes to drive from Georgia to South Carolina or something. It would take me to drive from Italy to Croatia, Italy to Slovenia, Italy to Austria, like, or my area in Italy to Rome or Verona, or, you know?
Yeah.
Like that there are these areas where I feel like I'm in a completely different place because, or I am literally in a different country.
Right.
Where I'm like, okay, I can relax. That is very good it's good for the marriage or the relationship, and it's also good now for my mental space, my mental health. Gotcha. It's like if I need to get away, I don't have to fly home. I flew home this time because I'm missing everybody. I wanted to come home for the holidays.
Yeah.
But if I just need to get away, just go to a different country.
Cool.
You know? So
cool. I feel like I got a million more questions, but I think that's a good spot to end. So who is Pierce Davis?
Man, I tell everybody he's him, but I don't know. Like it's you know more than most people how I've changed over the years. Like I've always been like confident, firecracker, you know, like super energetic, upbeat, and all that stuff. That's never really changed, but the level of confidence and how it's applied has grown immensely. You know, like genuinely feel like I can do whatever I want. Like I was that kid in high school that was shooting shots at the like most popular girls and getting shot down every time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now I don't care about your status. Like I go for what I want. And it's like, it's rare that I get shot down. And if I do, it's not painful. Like it's literally just like, all right, the way I see it, and something that I've learned over the past like year and a half, 2 years is, fellas, like when you go and you try to talk to a woman or something like that, and she tells you, like, you're like, oh, like, can I have your number? And she's like, no, right? That rejection is not a rejection of you. It's a rejection of her perception of you. She don't really know who you are. So don't take it to heart. You know, you taking it to heart like, oh man, like what's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. Nah, bro, like she don't know you for real. You might have been the gold mine that she's been looking for forever, but she rejected you based off of what? Physical, like your looks and whatever you said to her when you walked up, or how you said it, or how your voice sounded, or maybe like, I don't know, she didn't like your cologne or something. You know, like it's really not that deep. So don't take it that seriously. And that's just an example of how my confidence has grown. Cause now I can literally speak to anyone. I can persuade people in ways that I never thought I would be able to, you know, or it's just like, I feel influential. And that's something I'm proud of. Okay. Like, I feel like I have influence. So I guess that's me, is like confident and just proud to be who I am.
Okay.
Unapologetically, you know?
Got it. So, got it. What do you want to be known for?
That's a good question. I feel like it's changed as well. I used to want to be like the nicest guy, you know, the one that nobody could hate, right? But I'll tell you what I told my dad about a week ago. We sat down and we had a drink after I got here. And basically I told him that I want to be the most tactical person in the room. And that's not on some like military stuff. By tactical, I mean, I want to be able to turn any situation into what benefits me. So let's say like I'm in a room full of people and one person publicly disrespects me. How do I handle it? Do I blow up on them in front of everybody? Do I walk away and act like nothing happened and now everybody's like, oh, dang, he just took that? Or do I say something that is so sharp, it's like a dagger to the throat, you know? And it just like, I didn't say anything disrespectful, but I just said something that made you like, dang, I probably shouldn't have said that because now I look dumb, you know? So I want to be known for that. I want to be tactical, but I also want to be kind and loving, you know? I want to leave a warm impression on everybody. Like, that's why you always see me when I meet new people out in public, like I'll smile at them. I'm talking to them and it's just like, I want to leave everyone's day better than it was when they first walked up to me or when I first walked up to them. So that's the legacy I hope to leave.
Cool. And I guess my last question is, how are you going to impact the world before you go?
Man, I guess the way I see it, time will tell. But I think so far I impact, like I wouldn't say I impact the world, but I impact the people around me. And hopefully that is carried forward, you know? So like I met guys that are going through what I went through with the divorce, like almost the same situation, stuff like that. And my first thing is to like share with them what I went through so that they can have it, because it's not going to be the same, right? But at least you have an idea of what's to come, right? So there's that, and then offer that, you know, if you want to ask questions and you want advice, some people don't like advice, right? But some people will come to me and be like, all right, like, what would you do, or what did you do when this happened? And I love being able to give my experiences to someone, because like everything I've gone through, I learn from. That way, you know, I have a little brother, right? When he might go through that later on in his life, or right now he's a sophomore in high school, he might be going through what I went through in high school. I'm going to continue to teach him what I know now, so that he doesn't have to go through what I went through at that point. It's just like I said with basic. If I went through basic training knowing what I know now, it would have been a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So I want to give my little brother, like if I went through high school right now, the way I dress, the way I talk, the way I carry myself, it would have been a very different situation. And so I want him to be able to adopt that without having to learn the hard way, because I teach myself things the hard way. My parents told me not to enlist. They told me to commission. I enlisted. Now I'm trying to commission. You know, my parents told me not to get married. What I do, got married, learned the hard way.
Yeah.
But everything that I have done that might not, or that might give my parents that I told you so moment, has taught me valuable information to carry forward from here on out, and has shaped me into the person I am now. Like if I never enlisted, I wouldn't be this Pierce Davis.
Right.
If I never got married, I wouldn't be this Pierce Davis. You know, so that to me is more valuable than going the easy route and then not having to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
I love that I went through what I went through.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully that experience and that my willingness to share that with anyone will lead to a positive impact, you know, just carried down throughout the time.
I love it, man. I love it. Last thing, man, just real quick, I need a song recommendation from you.
Oh man, song recommendation. I'm trying to think of what I listen to. I've been listening to a lot of R&B lately, but you
listen
way better than me with R&B.
Don't listen. What you got?
I mean, lately I've been listening to Can We Talk a lot. And then, you know, I always listen to J. Cole. So I like London. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. That's it. London it is.
All right, do that.
London,
do that.
the Bia version?
Yeah, I love that.
Featuring J. Cole?
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, that was one of my most listened to this year.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you got good taste. Thank you, man. This was fun.
Yeah.
This was fun,
absolutely,
man. I enjoyed this. Thank you for coming. Safe travels back to Italy.
For sure.
Thank you for your service, man. Let's give one more round of applause for my man. I'm glad we made this happen.
For sure.
I'm glad we made this happen. This was the Who, What, How podcast. You got to meet Pierce Davis today, Staff Sergeant Pierce Davis for the United States Air Force. And I hope you enjoy what you got from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jarad Wright.
God bless you. Peace. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Who, What, How podcast. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend. And we'll see you next time. Peace. And one love.